Today's video, we're going to talk about enterprise PPC management strategy that works the best for managing enterprise PPC campaigns. If you are currently in charge of doing pay-per-click for your enterprise company that you work for, you probably know some, but certainly not all of this information. Google search campaigns can work. They're not everything. Lead generation can work using white papers and the like can work, but it's tricky. I'm going to go into detail on both of these that I found works the best for our PPC agency, where we've done this several times with different enterprise level clients / companies in the past. I'm Corey Ziman, owner of Guaranteed PPC, a PPC / advertising agency that offers guaranteed results to our clients before they pay any management fees. We are the only company in the world offering any kind of guarantee to their clients as far as increases in profitability specifically. And we're able to do that because the lead strategist at the firm, myself, has 20 years of advertising experience to understand the ins and outs of what basically works with ads and what does not, of which I've baked into the video you're about to watch. With that said, I'm going to get into the key strategy that I'm going to use for any enterprise level client that we have coming to our firm to guarantee the results. If you stay to the end of the video, I will also give you a couple case studies of different campaigns where we did this actual strategy in the past and tell you the actual results, what we got, cost per lead, ROI, so you can see exactly how well the particular things I'm about to share with you do actually work. Getting into the content, naturally, anything to do with enterprise PPC for people that are subscribers who are not directly working with an enterprise company, the main difference between enterprise PPC and selling to other businesses, small businesses, we want to sell to the end decision maker who can say yes to buy our product and or service that we're trying to market. The big difference with enterprise PPC management is we need to, instead of marketing to the person who has the stack holder, we have to market to the people in the company who want to feel important, are in the ear of the decision maker, or have some sort of pull with the decision maker. And that can be a number of ways. Sometimes, obviously, there's people tasked with go finding vendors to get quotes for certain things that the enterprise needs. Other times, they want to get a promotion, feel important, keep their job, if you will. They're on the hunt for information, sources of information that's going to give the company an edge so that they can use them for their own benefit that way. And that traditionally comes from, running display ads to these influencers, we'll call them, that influence the decision makers at the company that we want to influence to be able to get them to buy our product or service, or at least okay it. That is then going to set the stage here for the two types of ads that we run at our firm for an enterprise company that are going to basically work. You got first of all, your search ads on Google search and Bing search, which if you need to only have big companies that you're targeting, you're going to have an email list that you're going to try to target and use for targeting with your search campaigns. And I know that kind of sounds tricky. I'm going to explain how this works in a minute. Because if you do not use email-based targeting with your search campaigns, you are going to get mostly leads that are not enterprise level companies, given that they're far and few between. You also have ads that you run on LinkedIn and Facebook to interrupt people that are the influencers that influence the decision makers at these companies that you want to do business with. You get their attention by, giving them information, generally speaking, and educate them because they're always looking for information that's going to help them, move up another level, if you will, at their own jobs. With that said, starting with the search ads, just to give you an example here, we had a company that sold software to huge construction companies. It was only good if you were a gigantic company, and we ran, search campaign. And this was a long time ago before I actually knew what I'm telling you here. We actually ran ads for keywords like construction management software and the like, and we generated leads at a really decent cost. At first I was like, oh wow, this is great. This is working so well. And then I found out later on that like 1% of the leads are converting, which tells me there's an issue with obviously with the lead quality that we have coming in from the campaign. It seems obvious that being the case. I mean, obviously we could have crappy salespeople, but that's the first thing we're going to check. And naturally we just find out by looking at the form data that the size of the companies that we're dealing with and the email addresses themselves not being corporate emails half the time. We got companies that are not qualified and they're not big enough companies in order to need and actually be able to use the software that we sell. But the trick and the problem that we have in marketing to enterprise level clients is the people that we want to reply are 1% of the total people in that market who buy. The people who are the enterprise level client search for the same things that a smaller company would search for. Sometimes you can get lucky and you'll be in a niche where if they search for XYZ, they're a big company already but that's generally far and few between, if you will, to get lucky like that. Anyway, what do you do to remedy this? You actually do what we did here. And we found an email list of all the people at all the companies that we basically want to reply. Because there's only a small grouping of construction companies that can actually use this software, a few hundred. So what do? We go ahead and use list building techniques to go find, first of all the influencers at these companies that we want to target and get to buy our software product. And then furthermore, guess what their email addresses are. It's usually first name at company name or first initial dot last name at company. And there's a bunch of permutations you test and you send an email to them and see which ones will get a response. Then once you have that list, then you can upload it to your ad account and use it to do a bid adjustment on your search campaign. So if they type in construction company software, our bid on each keyword is so low that we're basically not winning the auction and not winning the chance to have our ad show unless that person is on our email address list. So we'll literally have our email address list as an audience added to those search campaigns that we're running in that account and do a plus 900% bid adjustment for that audience. So effectively, we're going to be telling Google that we're willing to pay 9 times as much per click if somebody's on this email list. Now, this particular strategy technically, sort of is on the edge of, like what Google's policies are. But if you have no other option to run ads and make them profitable because you run into a scenario like I just described, you don't have any option. You're dead in the water anyway. You will generally, and I've seen this happen before, you'll run that email list. Google somehow knows that it's not a first-party email list, which is what you generally need to use it as a targeting mechanism, which I don't know why you need that to attach it to a search campaign. But eventually, like a year or two down the road, they may catch on that it's not a first-party list, and then they'll suspend your ability to use the list. They'll suspend your ability to use the list. You can continue running your search ads, you just can't use that list anymore. But in the meantime, it certainly may never happen. Most likely won't ever happen that they know that it's not a first-party list. You can actually have your campaign set up to where your ad only shows for your keywords that you want to target if somebody's in one of the target companies that you have that you know that you need to reach out to and sell this software, this product, or whatever to. That's the key strategy we use for enterprise companies. If the keywords are being searched by smaller companies, if they're searched for bigger companies only, well, then our job's easy. We just run a search campaign just like any other, we would for any other company out there and get results from it using the techniques I talk about on this channel. Now, that email address, you may say, well, that's a lot of work to maybe get some leads from Google search because naturally they still have to search for your keywords. And if you're only trying to target, let's say 1,000 enterprises, you may only get a few clicks a month on that search campaign. Every click you get is going to be gold, but it's still only a few clicks. That's fine because you could use that same email address list now to run your content campaign, which I'm going to talk about next. Which, by the way, to take a quick detour here on the content I'm sharing with you, if you want to know how to run the best search campaign and or other campaigns that are going to for sure beat your competition so that you have better ads, better landing pages for the campaign you want to run, you want to subscribe to this channel as the information that's coming to you on this channel is coming from somebody who spends 40 hours a week doing ad testing and has done it for over a decade. This is my sole job at our advertising agency. Therefore, the information you're getting on this channel, raw, it's solid. You can't get information like this on other channels that you're going to watch because most of the other channels, we're talking 95% plus, don't run any ads or just trying to sell courses or advertising or whatever. And you're not going to get useful information because of that. So this is truly unique information that's going to be able to truly help you. You at least want to pay attention to this information on this channel as well. So you should subscribe. You should also check out my blog. My blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog will give you even more information on how to guarantee results for your campaigns. I have my go-to strategies there that we use for our clients to guarantee the results and that you can guarantee results for yourself as well. There's step-by-step instructions with screenshots, everything you need to replicate those strategies in your own ad accounts on Google, Facebook, and the like for yourself. So you should check that out as well, including display campaigns like I'm about to get to here. Going into the next little bit here on what you're going to typically do for an enterprise situation where you're trying to promote and sell to enterprise clients. You take the email address list that I was just talking about, which, by the way, to clarify here, the email address list that you have, a lot of people will try to buy an email address list from a third-party broker. Most of those lists are like 30% accurate if you're lucky. It's literally worth it to hand build that list. I've been through the ringer with this. There's no list sellers that have current lists. Because the thing about B2B lists are, email lists are, people move companies all the time. So a list that works today, in a year, a third of the names are wrong already. And when these data brokers that sell lead lists are selling their leads, they got to sell those leads so many times to make their money back. And of course, they're going to sell the leads even if they're a little old because they need to make their money back. So you're better off getting a live list for yourself and then checking the list like once a year and make sure the ones that aren't working anymore, you replace them if you truly are serious about getting good results for your company. And on top of that, it needs to be real direct email addresses. John@xyz.com, not johnsmith@gmail.com, none of that crap on top of it as well. With all that said, I mean, naturally, there are ways to target everybody at a company on LinkedIn, and there's some other platforms where you can do this. It's still not as good as having the direct email address of the person you want to reply, so you know every single reply you get is solid and it's on the money, and then everything, you can pay so much more for a lead when you know the person that replies you can sell to them because the closing rates are going to be so much higher, and it'll make your job of getting leads when you set up your campaigns so much easier, and it'll be so much easier on yourself doing things the proper way, the way that I just described. Just take my word for it. So anyway, with that email address list, and it could be a cell phone number list as well, but it's not nearly as good to do that. You want corporate email addresses, like I mentioned. You take that list, you upload it to Facebook, and you upload it to LinkedIn, and you use that to power your ads. At that point in time, you now have what you need to get in front of the people you need to get in front of. Now it's just a question of what do they want to hear that's going to get their attention? What do I need to say to get their attention? Ultimate best way is not to market your product or service. That's lame. You need to offer them what they want to hear. What information do they normally want to see and find that they'll really be pleased and actually read it right away? And generally speaking, employees want to know how to save the company money or make the company money. Come up with content to share with them and put out in front of them with your ads on LinkedIn, on Facebook, that's going to help them do either or. Ideally, as it's tied to your product or service. I mean, let's just face it, if you can't explain in simple terms how your product or service is going to make or save someone's money, you shouldn't be selling it in the first place. So what we had, for instance, was a company that sold is for mobile apps to help people better monetize in mobile app users to get more revenue per user. And what we did in that particular case is we would promote a white paper on LinkedIn, on Facebook to this email address list that I'm telling you that we put together and put together for this company as well. Your guide for increasing in-app user revenue, average revenue per user. We didn't say that our particular solution was what did it. We said the CTOs that we wanted to reply, what they wanted to hear, which is how to actually increase the profitability of this app that they are in charge of managing at app companies, if you will. With that, in that case, it was pretty simple. They want to increase, and obviously for the people who don't want to increase average revenue per user, they're not going to be attracted by the content and they're going to weed themselves out. We knew the people we want to sell to just want to increase the average revenue per user. They download the white paper that shows the ways to do it. And of course, one of the options that works really well is our solution, push notifications, what it was at the time. Then we got people reaching out on their own to us. Not only that, but we got somebody waiting when the lead comes in to actually call the person up after they're done reading it after a few minutes as well, which is what you want to do as well. But that's the basic premise of how all this should work. You find out what it is that the person is actually going to be triggered by and what they really, really want to see. Your goal should be the content, by the way. Not only do they want it, but nobody else offers that content. You go to Google, you search for it, nobody's offering it, because that scarcity component's important. Because if it doesn't seem if the information doesn't seem scarce, you got to think the user's just going to think, I'm going to go to Google and find the same information. So who cares about it? I'm not going to I ain't going to give none of my email addresses up for information that's commodity type information. With that said, you hire 2 people, an industry best copywriter that can do really good copywriting, and then 1 research person or create a research team that finds out the type of content that the people you want to sell to want to read. And then you put the 2 together, you create your lead magnet, if you will, what people in the marketing space call content that generates leads like this. They download it. Then you have them in an email drip sequence. You keep feeding them more information about the core topic that was discussed on the initial lead magnet. So in the case of the push notification software company, once they downloaded the white paper that explained the top ways to increase in-app per user revenue, each week they would get another piece of content explaining, here's another way to do it. Here's another way to do it. Here's another way to do it. And each subsequent piece of content that they read is going to make it more likely they're going to do business with us, because they're going to have so much brand recognition that they trust us. And when they get that one-off email that says, hey, I'm Brandon from XYZ company, I wanted to show you a demo of what we're working on, you're going to get super high acceptance rates. And that is where it's at. Now, what most people are going to do is they're going to fumble the campaign that I'm telling them to set up here, because we'll get the lead at $20, $30 like we did for this particular company, the push notification company. They aren't going to get 15% of those people to turn into a customer, because the email drip sequence content that they have isn't written by an actual copywriter. There is an art to taking information that's valuable and then writing it in such a way that's entertaining and clear at the same time. It's like you always had that favorite teacher in school. Everybody liked going to that teacher or that class. It was entertaining. Writing that teaches on how to save or make money has to be entertaining for it to be digested. And if they get your content and they read it and it was boring, the next email they get, they're not going to read it. They're going to unsubscribe and you wasted your time. Really, really good content written by expert copywriters that are charging $3 a word, they're going to write really good content, and each email that they get is actually going to be read. Part of this just starts with knowing what people want to hear. And then second part of it is having an actual expert be able to write the content. When you put the 2 together, you have something that's going to be highly, highly profitable for you to be able to use, like we did with the push notification company. If you don't know how to put the funnel together that I just described in terms of, and then just know if it's good enough, this is exactly what we work with clients to do. We don't actually put email drip sequences together, but we do consulting and let people know if their sequence is good enough to be profitable, and if not, what to do to improve it. But we definitely run the campaigns, the lead magnet. We help the client put together the lead magnet, given that we're not usually software or technology experts. We can tell you the lead magnet topic to do, put the campaign together, make sure you get the leads at a decent rate and tracking in place so that we know what we're paying for a lead, and to use that information to make the campaign better so the leads are cheaper, and or we just keep getting more leads. We do all that for you. You can reach out to me at guaranteedppc.com, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you about it. We can provide you an 8-quarter projection on the type of results you should receive from that type of campaign, and a guarantee at the beginning of what we can get you to up front. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about that if you're interested. We also sell ad templates. If we've already worked in your niche market before, we can actually sell you the templated version of the ads, campaigns, landing pages, all of it that works for your industry already, and sell it to you so you can run it with it on your own. We got people using these templates to start whole businesses from scratch. The templates are so dialed in terms of what they are able to do to produce leads at a cheap rate and that are quality. We also sell those. We've worked in over 100 niches before. So the chances are quite high we've got something that's somewhat close to what you're looking for. And that'll, effectively will get you results right away because we already spent years optimizing ads for that industry already. And now you've got something that you can use. Or we got something close enough, such as if you're selling software, well, we got enterprise campaigns that have sold software before, like I was mentioning earlier, and you can just use it and get, you can bypass all of this work that it's going to take to get results in your space. We also got templates. Like if you're trying to start a whole other business, the easiest way to start a new business is to take one of the templates we have and build the business around the template that generates customers at a profitable rate, that we know that it generates business at a profitable rate already. If you're interested in that, reach out to me, guaranteedppc.com. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you about it and let you know what results we got in what markets and all of that. With that said, going back to the content here, all of this that I just described is only going to be true if you got the sales process in place. Not only does that drip sequence have to be in place, at least for the display ads that I talked about, not the search engine ads. You still, once you initially gave them the demo, you got to follow up with the person until they either say yes or don't contact me anymore. The sales process has to be on point. Otherwise, you're going to get less than half of the results that I told you about, where you should be getting 10, 15% of the people who initially download your content to actually turn into customers, or from Google search to turn into customers, for that matter. Your ROI on your campaign typically is also not going to come in for 12 to 24 months, something like that. On a 6-figure sale, it takes people time to be ready, but also trust you. Like I was talking about earlier, each subsequent email that they read, it gets them a little bit more trust with your company to the point where they'll eventually trust anything you say. The hardest thing that you have to do in your company right now to generate more sales is to get trust from your user, because if everybody that you want to sell to already knew that it will make or save them money, they would of course use it. The only reason why they don't use it is because they don't trust you. And so you build trust by offering value up to them up front. And the more value you offer to them, the more trusted that they're going to become of you. Which is why, by the way, I do B2B sales here at Guaranteed PPC. It's much easier just to teach what works on this channel than it is to beg people for business. Eventually, when you've tried enough of my stuff and see that it works enough, you're obviously going to know, at least when you're ready to hire a PPC agency, which one you're going to go to. It's so much easier to do business that way. Of course, Google search ads can work, but main thing about Google search ads even is, now, if you're not talking about targeting specific email addresses, then you're one of at least there. And you still are, even if you're targeting certain email lists. If you're priced way above what other people on Google search are priced, then it's not a great channel, which is basically the problem we ran in with it. So we'd rather just teach and find the person who understands our value by listening to us, try out the stuff we're talking about, see for themselves that it works, and then go naturally to the next level with it. But anyway, if you have any specific questions about anything I covered here or any other ad-related, marketing-related question, as per the enterprise level clients that we were working with, that we were trying to work with to get enterprise level clients for them, that is, reach out to me and leave a comment in the comment section. I get back to every single person who leaves me a question or comment on this channel, usually within 24 hours time already. I'd love to be able to give back to my viewers just as a thank you of watching the channel and helping the channel grow. So with that said, I mentioned if you watch to the end of the video, I was going to give you a couple case studies where you can see how well this stuff actually works. I already talked about the specific results that we got for the push notification app that we worked with before. That offers, in-app push notifications on a time delay and with different logic involved, which is what that actually was. About how we were generating leads for about $20, $30, closing about 1 in 7. And with that, it was very profitable. Going into the software company I talked about before, just to keep things consistent here, the construction software company, that software itself is thousands a month, okay? high ticket size. And with that though, and cost per click is very, very high. We're talking $50 a click. Still though, we're getting the people that were requesting the demo at around $600-700. Okay. Of the demos that we're getting, we're closing about 1 in 5. Now we're talking about $3,000 a deal. Very, very affordable on a lifetime value of a customer or client. That's going to be $100,000, $150,000. Very profitable. Mainly got those kind of results though because we had the email list. Without the email list, we didn't have those results. It didn't bring in, a lion's share of the business we were able to bring in for the company as a whole, but it added significant value. And then with that, we also ran the content marketing strategy I talked about here eventually. That in itself takes a lot of coaxing from our clients to do, because hire a high-end copywriter to build out an entire content funnel and then do it right anyway. They had content they were sending out by email, but it wasn't near good enough for like what we needed to do here to develop an audience and so you can sell to them. It also worked as well. In a similar way as with the push notification company, we're talking generating leads for $50 to $60 a lead. And on the closing rate side, it's actually quite good as well. Closing about 1 in 8. A software for a big construction company, it's the immediate need on that's not quite so much, but more importantly, it's a big decision to switch into using an operational based software like that for a construction company. So it's harder to actually close that. That ROI is still off the charts at the end of the day, even if we're talking about having to pay $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 per deal in marketing and advertising costs, still totally doable. Now, naturally, that had to come over several years to get the full lifetime value out of a customer over the next 36 months. And so you don't get it all at once, but once you look at the average value of a client, of people who got the software, the right client, and you compared that to the marketing cost, now we're at a marketing cost literally of 2-3% of the total sales revenue. It was invested into ad spend necessarily to get it. And obviously there's other costs with developing the content, hiring a team to manage it. You still end up with, after all the sales and marketing costs, you're at 20%. But advertising, not a big part of that. Anyway, with that said, I'll pretty much wrap it up with that. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you on the next one.
Remember when I said push notifications was important during this video? Well, this video here tells you how to do it.